Hello, and a warm welcome to our show, Love Athletics. In this program, we bring you the latest highlights from our sport with expert input from different continental areas. And we're delighted to have as our guest today, Kenyan journalist Elias Makori. Hello, Elias. Lovely to see you again, and a big thank you for joining us.
Hello, and thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Now, so much has been happening in our sport after the World Championships, but we'll focus today on marathons and especially on marathons and on the Athletes of the Year awards. So, road races. Last three World Marathon majors took place in the last weeks, starting with Berlin on Sunday, 21st September. Incredibly, the last day of the World Championships, then Chicago on 12 October, and finally New York on 2 November. So let's look now in detail at New York and then review the entire series. So New York City Marathon, a triumph for Kenya, as its athletes achieved podium sweeps in both the men's and women's races. Let's start with the women, where Hellen Obiri took a clear win in 2 hours 19:51, finally smashing the course record, which had belonged to Margaret Okayo since 2003 with 2:22:31. Obiri was followed home by Sharon Lokedi, who had bested her in April in Boston in 2 hours 20:07, while reigning champion Sheila Jepchirchir with 2:20:24 completed the podium. Now, Elias, before we continue with the men's race, a couple remarks about the women's race. So first of all, after placing sixth in her debut at the distance in New York in 22, Obiri has totally mastered the distance with 3 wins, 2 second places in her 6 career marathons. So after this, and this of course was after winning 2 5,000-meter World Championships titles, 2017 and 2019, plus 2 Olympic silvers, a 3,000 meters indoor gold in 2012, the World Cross in 2019. So a truly remarkable athlete.
Yeah, Helen is truly remarkable, and I just like the way that she's been able to juggle, especially in the last 4 years, getting to the marathon. And at the same time, she was serving as an executive member of the National Olympic Committee of Kenya. So she was, in and out of boardroom meetings and onto the track to train. I've been, following her training. Normally, she trains in Kenya and in the U.S., but she relocated to the U.S. after joining the ON, brand. And then she's been coming to Kenya to do higher altitude training just outside Nairobi. And interestingly, she does very intense speed work and hill work, and that's why I think she found it a bit easy winning in New York. When you get into Central Park, the last few meters is uphill to the finish line, and that's where she did timing perfection. Sharon couldn't respond. So good combination of speed work training, hill training, and endurance. And remember, Anna, she's a member of the Kenya Defense Forces, actually with the Kenya Air Force. So it tells you a lot about her discipline.
Amazing. Now, Elias, the fact that it took over 20 years to beat Margaret Okayo's course record shows just how great a performance that was.
Exactly. I mean, 2 decades, Margaret was a great athlete. And, like Helen, she's from the discipline forces with the Kenya Prison Service. So it took a lot of training, a lot of planning around how to tackle, especially the final miles of the marathon in New York, getting, like I said, uphill to the finish in Central Park, needed a lot of endurance training. And, Margaret has been, developing well in the marathon. And I think this was one of our best races. It was a very hard record to beat 2 hours 22, and she absolutely shattered it by 3 minutes. Amazing.
Thank you, Elias. Now, the men's race was a much closer affair, with Benson Kipruto barely holding off a surging Alexander Mutiso Muñao, with both men credited in 2:08:09, separated by just 16 hundredths of a second. That seems to be a new trend this year. So former champion Albert Courier completed the podium, closing in 2:08:57. Now, Elias, of course, full podium sweeps in both races must have been a source of pride and joy back in Kenya.
Yeah, around the clubs, the pubs in Nairobi, in Eldoret, in Iten, the mood was ecstatic. People celebrating one victory after another. 1, 2, 3 for the women, 1, 2, 3 for the men. It couldn't have been any better, especially after sort of struggling at the World Championships in Tokyo,
yes.
Where again a clean sweep was difficult for Kenya. So it was a very, very good way of ending the World Marathon Majors year on a high by cleaning the podium in New York City.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So I think we also need to mention Eliud Kipchoge, running his first New York City marathon to finish 14th in 2:14:36. Now, the double Olympic champion was visibly emotional after crossing the finish line, wiping away a couple tears. However, this is not the great Eliud's last race, as he announced the Kipchoge World Tour. Elias, what can you tell us about this project?
Well, the Kipchoge World Tour is a project by his management, that is Global Sports Communication, and running to where he's going to run at least one marathon in each of the 7 continents. The details of the cities are not out, and everybody is waiting curiously to see when and where he'll be racing, especially in Antarctica. It will be interesting to see how he'll put in a marathon in Antarctica. But yeah, he says, and his philosophy is to make it a running world, to inspire people. Wherever he goes, there's a massive following. I remember in the Olympics last year, when he dropped out, there were easily over 300 people following him as he walked, away from the course. He had to give up he gave his shoes, he gave his running shirt, he gave his socks. And, when he came to the mix zone, he was joking that he couldn't give away his shorts. He didn't want to come to the mix zone naked. So that shows that some of the crowd following that he enjoys. A great human being.
Absolutely. So I'm very, very happy that we'll continue seeing him. And as far as I know, it's also to raise funds for his foundation, isn't it?
Yeah, the Eliud Kipchoge Foundation is doing amazing work back in Kenya, helping in education. You remember when he ran 1:59, it would be the 2-hour barrier in the marathon. The then president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, asked him, what gift do you want me to give? Do you want the government to give? And, people of all sorts of present, but Eliud said, hey, I want a library for my people. So the Eliud Kipchoge No Human is Limited library was constructed by President Kenyatta in Kapsabet, his home area. So yeah, he's really doing a lot with the charity, helping in education especially, and mentoring the young athletes.
Fantastic. I just love Eliud. So some final notes about New York City Marathon. With 59,226 finishers, the race set a new record for number of finishers in a marathon, surpassing the number which had been set by this year's London Marathon with 56,640. Among them were several notable performers, including Mexico's Germán Silva, who was the winner in New York in 94 and 95, who now aged 57, finished in 3 hours, 12:56. But also impressive was 36-year-old French runner Dorian Louvet, who achieved a very special performance, completing the series of all 7 World Marathon majors in an average time of 2 hours, 27:53. So the detail: Tokyo 2 hours, 18:56, Boston 2:33:41, London 2:33:23, bizarrely a little bit slower, Sydney 2:28:08, Berlin 2:28:24, Chicago 2:25:27, and New York 2:27:09. So heartfelt congratulations to Dorian. So New York concluded the 2025 World Marathon Majors series. Let's take a look back at the entire season, starting with the men. So Tokyo started with a 1-2 for Ethiopia with Tadesse Takele and Deresa Gelete, with Vincent Kipchoge in third. Boston, John Courier, Alphonce Simbu, and Cyprian Kotut in third. Sydney, Haile Mariam Kiros and Adisu Gobena, a second 1-2 for Ethiopia. Then Lesotho's Tabelo Ramakongoana. London, very fast time by Sabastian Sawe, the fastest in the first part of the season, followed home by Jacob Kiplimo and Alexander Mutiso. Berlin, again, Sebastian Sawe, 2:02:16. Then Japan's Akira Akasaki and Ethiopia's Chimdesa Debele. Chicago, very fast win by Jacob Kiplimo in 2:02:23. Second, Amos Kipruto, and third, Alex Masai. Then New York, as we saw, with Kenyan triumph, Benson Kipruto, Alexander Mutiso, and Albert Correa. And just as a reminder, World Championships, Alphonce Simbu took that win by 0.03 of a second over Germany's Amanal Petros, with Italy's Elias Awani in bronze. So overall, 4 wins for Kenya, 2 for Ethiopia, 1 for Uganda, and Tanzania won the World Championships. And of course, the podium sweep for Kenya in New York City. Top 3 men of 2025. So Sabastian Sawe in Berlin, 2:02:16. In second place, so Sawe went to equal 6th in the all-time list, but he already had number 5 from last year. Jacob Kiplimo, 2:02:23, moves to number 7 in the all-time list. Then Sabastian Sawe also had, as we saw, a very fast time in London, 2:02:27. And the third athlete is Tadesse Tekele with his 2 hours 03:23 from Tokyo. Elias, anything you would like to comment about on the series?
Yeah, it was an amazing series, very well spread out between, especially Kenya and Ethiopia. And it was good to see Alphonce Simbu from Tanzania winning the country's first ever gold medal at the World Championships in the marathon, which is a big sense of, pride for Tanzania, who had very good athletes in the 80s. Juma Ikanga, very good marathon runner who was at the time running the likes of Ibn Hussein, the first African to win the New York and Boston marathon. So it was a great series, and what a way to end it with a photo finish at Central Park in New York.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the World Championships is crazy, because Amanal Petros was saying afterwards that he'd seen on the big screen that Simbu was like 5 meters behind, very close to the finish line. So he felt safe. And instead, with one of these incredible bursts of speed that we saw in Tokyo, well, Simbu made it first very, just barely to the finish line. So very impressive. So, Elias, what are the male marathoners who most impressed you this year?
Of course, Alfred Simbu will feature on my list of the top 3, for winning Tanzania their first gold medal in the marathon in the World Championships. Very motivational for Tanzanian track and field and road running. But on top of my list will be Sabastian Sawe. Since he broke into the marathon, I was with him in Riga a couple of years back when he won the World Half Marathon Championships, and I've seen his progression to the marathon. He's been running 202, regularly in his first marathons. Of course, winning the London Marathon in 2016, which was quite sorry, 202. 27 for London and 2016 for Berlin. He was actually being seen as the person next to the late Kiptum, Kelvin Kiptum, who is capable of breaking the world record. So yeah, Sebastian Sawe, Alphonse Simbu, sorry, and of course Benson Kipruto. The fantastic win in New York, making him, get a sweep of the U.S. majors. That is Boston Marathon. Remember, he won Boston in 2021. He won Chicago in 2022, and now he's won the New York Marathon. So a hat trick of U.S. majors.
Absolutely. And for Sabastian Sawe, what makes it even more special is that his time of 2:02:16 was run in very warm weather in Berlin towards the end of September. So they call it the warm weather world record. So that makes it even more special.
Exactly.
So, Elias, I think we also need to speak about Uganda, because in only his second marathon, after London last April when he finished second, Jacob Kiplimo seems to have fully mastered the 42K distance, unlike Joshua Cheptegei, whose prowess on the track and cross country has not translated into dominance on the roads.
Yeah, Jacob has been transitioning well into the marathon. Like you mentioned, the Cheptegei has been struggling a bit over the 52 kilometers, but Jacob Kiplimo, with the half marathon world record, and running second in London 2:03:37, and winning Chicago in 2:02:23. At one point, on course for the world record. Amazing, but of course, the 30K match became a bit difficult for him. So yeah, he's really matured. He's got the miles in his legs, and I think there's a lot more we should expect from Jacob.
Yeah, we'll look forward to it, and I really hope Cheptegei gets up to speed, because he's an athlete I really like. He's a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, I think he's still on gear 1, gear 2 in the marathon. I'm sure he'll soon be at cruising altitude, hopefully.
Let's hope so. So let's now review the women's series. Tokyo, first Sutume Kebede of Ethiopia, second Winfrieda Moseta, third Hawi Feysa of Ethiopia. Boston, that was a 1-2 for Kenya, with Sharon Lokedi over Hellen Obiri, and in third, Ethiopia's Yalemzerf Yehwala. Then London with a very fast 2 hours 15:50 by Ethiopia's Tigst Asefa, ahead of Joycelyn Jepchirchir and Sifan Hassan. Sifan Hassan then took the win in Sydney, ahead of Bridget Kosgei and Vorkanesh Edesa. Berlin, now, bizarrely, in contrast to the men's race, which was very fast, the women were not as fast. Rosemary Wanjiru won in 2:21:05, ahead of Ethiopian duo Dera Dida and Amzera Gebru. Chicago, very fast time, world lead by Ethiopia's Hawi Feysa, 2 hours 14:57. Ahead of compatriot Megertu Alemo and Magdalena Shauri of Tanzania, maybe inspired by Simbu, who knows? And then New York, as we saw, triple for Kenya with Obiri, Lokedi, and Jepchirchir. And the World Championships, let's remember, win for Peres Jepchirchir ahead of Tigst Asefa, and surprise package Julia Paternain of Uruguay in third. So overall for the series, Kenya had 3 wins plus the World Championships. Ethiopia also 3 wins, and the Netherlands with Sifan Hassan had the other World Marathon Majors title. And as we already said, for the men, podium sweep for Kenya. Top 3 women of 2005, Hawi Feysa with her Chicago mark took the world lead. Second, Tigst Assefa with her London performance. And in third place, Sutume Assefa Kebede with her 2 hours 16:31 from Tokyo. So, Elias, any special comments to make on the women's side of the World Marathon Majors series?
Well, and I have, Hellen Obiri, Perez Jepchirchir, and Sifan Hassan as, my top athletes, along with Cameroon Sharon Mukedi. Yeah, because, Helen, second in Boston, losing the sprint finish to Sharon, something that she corrected in New York, beating Sharon to second place in the final meet of the year. And of course, she's been quite consistent with the course record, beating the 2023 course record by, Margaret O'Brien. Then, of course, Sifan Hassan winning in Sydney, fresh from last year's Olympic victory, struggled a bit in New York, but she'll always remain inspirational. And Perez Jepchirchir has always come through for Kenya at, the World Championship stage, wearing the Kenyan jersey, a brilliant finish in Tokyo. And, we're looking forward to seeing how she will end the year. She's going to run the Valencia Marathon to complete the year. So, it was a brilliant season for the women. And like I said, Hellen Obiri, Sifan Hassan, Perez Jepchirchir, and Sharon Mukedi are my dominant athletes for the marathon this season.
Thank you, Elias. Now, on my side, Obiri, of course, but I was also impressed by Ethiopia's Hawi Feysa, who entered a new dimension with her 2 hours 14:57 in Chicago. And it's interesting to note that she trains under Gemedo Dedefa, who also coaches Tigsta Sefa, who has a PB of 2:11:53, number 2 all time, Amane Berisu, 2:14:58, number 6 of all time, and Tigsta Ketema, 2:16:07, number 10 of all time. So very impressive squad there. So that's it for World Marathon Majors. Other road results over the past week. Notable one, it was the Valencia Half Marathon on 19 October. And Kenya's Agnes, Jebet, and Ngetich, after a 4th place finish at the World Championships over 10,000 and a rather unimpressive 15th over 5,000, returned to successfully defend her title in Valencia. So Ngetich, who was below world record pace until 15K, registered a crushing victory in 1 hour 03:08, the 3rd best mark in history, and only 4 seconds slower than her time of 2004, to win by over 2 minutes from Ethiopia's Foyten Tesfaye, 1:05:10. So very, very impressive. Again, she seems, I don't know what you think, Elias, but it seems to me that Ngetich is more successful on the roads than on the track.
Yeah, she's been doing well on the roads, struggling a bit on the track, which is it's usual with some athletes who find that they hit the road early and get used to the road. She had a couple of good runs on the track, but never really matured on the road. And Kenya is really trying to push for performances in the 10,000 meters, especially where Beatrice Jebet has been outstanding. But Agnes, interestingly, she's been good in the cross country also, but the track hasn't been our favorite. So it's an interesting situation.
Yeah. Mm-mm. It's good that she's trying, though.
Exactly.
So in the men's race, Ethiopia's Yomif Kejelcha also defended his title, winning in an excellent 58.02, second best mark of the year after Jacob Kiplimo's 56.42 world record from last February. And of course, Kiplimo had bettered Kejelcha's 57.30 world record in winning the 2024 event. Now, a pack of three athletes closed together just over 30 seconds behind the Ethiopian. Burundi's Rodrigue Kwizera in 58.38, Kenya's Brian Kibor 58.39, and Sweden's Andreas Almgren, who took over 30 seconds off the previous continental best, which had been set by Switzerland Julian Anders in 2019, bringing it to a world-class time of 58.41. And it's the third European record set this year by the World Championships 10,000 meters bronze medalist, after those on the 10K road race, also in Valencia in January, and 5,000 meters on track at home in the Diamond League meet in Stockholm. So let's move now to another aspect of out-of-stadium events, cross country. The World Cross Tour 25-26 has now started with just one gold level meet held so far. That was on 19 October in Amorebieta in Spain, the Cross Internacional Zornoza, which saw victories by Burundi's Emil Hafashimana among the men and Ethiopia's Spain-based Likina Ameba among the women. And in race walking, in the meantime, the new distances, marathon and half marathon, replacing the 35K and 20K events respectively from next year, were tested at the end of October at the Lusitanian race walk event in Zittau in Germany, and also at the All Japan Race Walking Takahata 2025. So we'll see how that goes. And hopefully for the athletes, this will be the last change in disciplines for a while. So it's time now to go back to the global overview of our sport and check all the best results since our last show, starting with the senior men's events. We're going to look at performances from 1st October to 3rd of November. It's, of course, at this time of the season, the only top marks are logically from road races, although there were also two great performances among the women at the ATHLOS Meet. So among the men, 10 kilometers road race in Brasov in Romania, 26:54 for Ethiopia's Kairi Bejiga, and 26:55 for South Africa's Maxime Chometon. In the half marathon, we just spoke about Yomif Kejelcha, Rodrigue Kwizera, Brian Kibor, and Andreas Almgren in the Valencia half. The marathon, I've included the Berlin mark by Sabastian Sawe, even though it was before 1st October. So as we saw, Sebastian Sawe 2:02:16, Jacob Kiplimo 2:02:23, Jeffrey Kipchumba 2:02:30 in Amsterdam, Amos Kipruto 2:03:54 second in Chicago. Then we have the second and third from Amsterdam, very close together, 2:04:18 for Tsegaye Getachew, 2:04:19 for Getane Toroitich Molla. Then from Amsterdam, fourth place for Gabriel Gerald Gerai of Tanzania, 2:04:36. Kenya, Alex Chesiro Masai in Chicago, 2:04:37. And in fourth place in Chicago, Connor Mans, 2:04:43, beating the US record, ahead of Ethiopia's Mohamed Essa, 2:04:49. Joshua Cheptegei, 2:04:52 in Amsterdam, and Seifu Tura, 2:05:17 in Chicago. Best performance of the month for the men is Jacob Kiplimo's winning mark at Chicago Marathon, and the top that's worth 1,272 points, and the top men's performance of 2025 remains the fabulous 6 meters 30 world record by Mondo Duplantis, which is worth a humongous 1,350 points. So let's look now at the men's best marks over the last month. And here we have 2 marks from track events. So we'll speak about ATHLOS in just a while. So over 200 meters, 21.89 for Brittany Brown. And in the long jump, 7 meters 13 for Tara Davis Woodhull, equaling her world leading mark. Then again, it's all performances from the roads, nothing special in Brasov on the 10K, but half marathon, as we saw, 1:03:08 for Agnes, Jebet and Ngetich, number 3 mark of all time, but she already has number 2. And then followed home by Foyt and Tesfaye in 1:05:10. Over the marathon, we spoke about Hawi Feysa's mark in Chicago, 2:14:57. She moves to number 6 in the all-time list. Megerto Alemu in Chicago, 2:17:18. Ainalem Desta won Amsterdam in 2:17:37. Behind her in Amsterdam, Berkutan Velde, 2:17:56. Third in Chicago, Magdalena Schauri in 2:18:03. And fourth, Lois Chemnung, 2:18:24. And finally, 2:19:26 for Mary Ngugi Cooper. So best women's performance of the month is the half marathon mark by Agnes, Jebet and Ngetich, which is worth 1,275 points. And the best women's performance of the year remains Valerie Allman's discus throw of 73.52, which is worth a huge 1,321 points. So before we move to the Athlete of the Year votes, let's take a look back at some miscellaneous athletics news, starting with the ATHLOS Meet. Long jump qualifying was held on the 9th of October, and the meet in Times Square, and the meet itself on the 10th. So what's amazing is that, as we saw, even at the end of the long season, a couple athletes were still capable of great performances. And the best results both came from US athletes, sprinter Brittany Brown, as we saw, and long jumper Tara Davis Woodhull. Brown achieved a sprint double with an excellent 21.89 PB over 200 meters and 10.99 on the shorter distance. Davis Woodhull equaled her world leading mark of 7 meters 13, which she had set in winning the Tokyo World Championships. I think, however, that the most interesting thing coming out of ATHLOS is that for 2026, they plan to expand from a single meet to a team-based competition, 6 teams and 6 athletes, to be held also at the conclusion of the regular season, with meets hosted in major cities and culminating in a final championship event. Now, a key element explained by event founder Alex Sohanian, would be athlete advisor ownership model. Now, Elias, after Michael Johnson's Grand Slam track was forced to close down after 3 of the 4 planned meets, do you think ATHLOS has a better chance of success?
Yeah, I think ATHLOS has a very good chance because of the way it's modeled and the timing. It is predictable, at the end of the season, so the athletes can prepare. Michael Johnson's format was a bit complicated, with competitions across the world in Jamaica and the US, and financially it was very, very demanding. The ATHLOS meeting has been, like I said, predictable. That the Icon Podium are lost at the end of the season. And the beauty about it is the focus on women athletics and blending athletics with entertainment. We had, like Sierra, the artist, performing at this year's meeting. So it really becomes a bigger celebration of sport, both on and off the track. And it has been, winning fresh following for track and field just because of the entertainment, the showbiz elements around it. You see, like the field events being introduced, competition, from New York, to New Jersey. And again, Anna, with the US hosting the Olympics in 2028, the sport really needed this kind of innovation to drive, interest going into LA 2028. So I think, the ATHLOS is here to stay. The financing of the event is well thought out, and the longevity and the blending with entertainment makes it, a sponsor's dream.
Yeah, thank you, Alice. I must admit that I preferred the Grand Slam track format, which was purely athletics. But as you say, the entertainment aspect is important. And I think it's good that they started, GST started with 4 meets and then they crashed. So I think it was wiser on ATHLOS to start with one, actually the second one this year, see how that goes and then expand. So I think that was a, wiser economic plan than Michael Johnson's, which was a little bit too ambitious.
And again, Anna, because, the ATHLOS, with the modern world, the technology, social media, the Gen Zs, these are people always on their phones and their tablets. So when they see something that is entertainment-based, whatever the sport, be it Formula One racing, be it, motorsport, and now track and field, it attracts them onto that particular sport. And I think entertainment has brought in that extra crowd to track and field.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Elias. So also on 10 October, the winners of the 2025 World Combined Events Tour was announced. And they are, not surprisingly, USA's Anna Hall among the women, and among the men, Norway's Sander Skottheim. Let's take a look at the whole stats. So Anna Hall was a winner in Götzis with 7,032 points. That's the second highest total of all time. Then she also won the US trials in Eugene. And of course, she won the World Championships in Tokyo. For her part, her compatriot Talia Brooks was second at the Combined Events Tour meet in Talence. She was second at the US trials, and she was also third. She was third at the World Indoors, and she was third at the World Championships, equal third. So very good marks for her in Tokyo with 6,581 points and 6,526 in Eugene. Now, Anna Hall, of course, has the top 3 performances of the year. And then, because of her consistency, Colombia's Marta Araujo was third in the standings. She was the winner in Talence. She came third in Götzis and just missed the podium at the World Championships. And she had twice more than 6,000 400 points, 6.475 in Götzis and 6.451 in Talence. Now, Hall had a really triumphant season, as we saw, 3 best marks of 2025. She topped the final standings with 3,781 points, which is the highest total ever achieved in the Tour's current format, over Talia Brooks with 6,514 and Marta Araujo with 3,485. Now, among the men, Schottheim topped the final standings with 3,745 points over the USA's Kylie Garland, 3,719, and Puerto Rico's World Championship silver medalist, Aiden Owens-Delerme, with 3,650. The Norwegian registered 3 of the 4 best heptathlon marks of the year, setting 2 area records when winning in Tallinn in February and then the Euro Indoors in March. Then he went on to win the World Indoors. And he also started the outdoor season very well in Götzis with 8,909 points. However, the rest of his outdoor season was not as good. He had to retire at the World Championships after a DQ in the first event of day 2, the 110 hurdles, after he had finished day 1 in 2nd place. So, as we saw, Sander Schottheim, especially good indoors in the heptathlon. Kylie Garland, he was the winner of the U.S. trials. He was 2nd in Götzis and 3rd at the World Championships. Aiden Owens-Delerme was the winner in Talence, 2nd at the World Championships, and only 7th in Götzis. So another interesting bit of information also on 10 October is that Dutch hurdling star Femke Bol announced that after winning world and European titles over the 400 hurdles and the 400 flat, she would now set herself a new challenge and test her potential over 800 meters. Now, Elias, what do you think of this choice? What do you think are her capabilities on the 2-lap race?
I think with the kind of training and the discipline needed, especially in the 400 meters hurdles, she has the sort of mental mindset that can push her to 800 meters. She has done 600 meters, which is a very rare distance before, and she says now she needs to work on her final 200 meters. And I think she'll draw motivation from people like Hellen van Langen, who won the Barcelona Olympics for the Netherlands in the 800 meters. As she prepares to compete in this event at the early Olympics in 2028. So she has the role models right in her backyard in the Netherlands. She has the mental setup of a winner and someone of working on the endurance part. It will be interesting to see what sort of performances she'll do, but I believe I can take on her well because she's challenging herself, and when an athlete challenges himself or herself, it brings out good performances. It's good to see her raise the bar because it's been pretty boring for her on the flat and in the hurdles. It's an interesting challenge.
And I hope that can shake up the women's 800, because the men's 800 in the last couple of years have had a fantastic surge in performances, but the women's is still a little bit, below what it used to be in the past year. So maybe Femke can help shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, since Maria Mutola, we've not had a really dominant 800 meters runner. We've had, the casual champions, but then having a real competition, pushing the time, going for the world record for the women, I believe Femke will bring in an interesting twist to to the winning 800.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So it's time now to look at the athletes of the year. Let's start with World Athletics, who continues to subdivide their Athlete of the Year vote into 3 categories: track, field, and out of stadium. So 5 nominees per category were announced between 13 and 27 October. And they were in the track category: Femke Bol, Beatrice Jebet, Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, Faith Kipyegon, and Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. Among the men, Rai Benjamin, Jimmy Gressier, Noah Lyles, Cordell Tinch, and Emmanuel Wanyonyi. As for field events, the following athletes were shortlisted: Valerie Allman, Tara Davis Woodhull, Anna Hall, Nicola Ollie-Slagers, and Cameron Rogers. And among the men, Mondo Duplantis, Mattia Furlani, Ethan Katzberg, Hamish Kerr, and Petro Pichardo. And finally, out of stadium events, among the women, Tigst Assefa, Sifan Hassan, Peres Jepchirchir, Agnes Ngetich, and Maria Perez. And among the men, 2 race walkers, Caio Bonfim and Evan Dunphy, plus Yomif Kejelcha, Sabastian Sawe, and Alphonce Simbu. On the 4th of November, 2 days ago, 2 finalists in each category were announced, selected through votes from World Athletics Council, the World Athletics family, and a public vote on social media. So let's look at the finalists. Women's track athletes of the year. The finalists are Femke Bol and Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. Men's track athlete of the year, finalists Noah Lyles and Emmanuel Wanyonyi. Women's field athlete of the year, Tara Davis Woodhull and Nicola Ollie-Slagers. Men's field athlete of the year, Mondo Duplantis and Mattia Furlani. Women's out of stadium athlete of the year, Peres Jepchirchir and Maria Perez. And the men's out of stadium athlete of the year finalists, Sabastian Sawe and Alphonce Simbu. Winners will be announced at the World Athletics Awards ceremony on 30 November in Monaco. Well, I had some pretty different choices, but let's first hear from our guest. So, Elias, who are your male athletes of the year, track, field, out of stadium, and overall?
Well, I'd go for Mondo Duplantis for the overall, because winning the world title indoor and outdoor at the end of the season, beginning of the season in Nanjing, and end of the season in Tokyo. And of course, the progression, 4 world records, 627, 628, 629, 630. It's almost like it's well planned. Maybe 631 will be his next world record. He's really done well, been very consistent, good for the sport, good with the media. So I certainly will pick him for the male athlete of the year. And of course, looking at the women's side.
Track. Who's your track athlete?
Or the track athlete. It's a difficult one for me. Being a Kenyan, I'll be inclined towards Wanyonyi, Emmanuel Wanyonyi. He's had a brilliant season in the 800 meters. He's sort of owned that particular race. I'd be tempted to give Emmanuel Wanyonyi.
What about field? Well, field is Mondo.
Yeah, field is Mondo. And
out of stadium?
Out of stadium, I'll give Sebastian Sawe the 2 marathon wins in London and Berlin. And also looking at the times that he's been running, very consistent 202 and very soon I'm sure he'll dip under 201, and who knows, he could go for Kipchoge's world record of 2:00:25. So yeah, Sebastian Sawe has been consistent on the road from the half marathon and now strong in the marathon, and I like the way he expected his marathons. He doesn't run too much, but he runs very fast when he does. So that gives an assurance of longevity. We'll see him for a pretty long time running between 2:01 and 2:02.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Elias. Now, on my side, I would have voted for Rai Benjamin for track because he really ran some amazing times. Of course, Mondo Duplantis for field. I agree with Sabastian Sawe on out-of-stadium events. And of course, definitely Mondo for overall, because there's no way you can beat 4 world records, win indoor, and a barrier breaking 6 meters 30 indoor and outdoor champion. So definitely Mondo. Now, Elias, who are your female athletes of the year? Again, track, field, out of stadium, and overall.
For the track, I'd go for Beatrice Jebet. She had a phenomenal season, breaking the world record in the 5,000 meters. Again, winning a double in the 5 and 10,000 meters at the World Championships. And remember, she also ran the fastest 3,000 meters Africa record, 8:11 in the Diamond League. So it's been a pretty good season for her. And it's a pity that we don't have a World Cross Country Championship happening every year. I'm sure she will have defended her title. Everybody's looking forward to January 10 when the World Championships cross country comes up in Tallahassee, USA. And she's in the senior team, and I'm sure she'll defend her title. So easily for me on the track, it's been the best.
And field, you have Tara.
It's definitely a for Tara, following up a gold medal in Paris last year, the Olympics, with the World Championships, gold in Tokyo, 7:13. That was a phenomenal jump. And she's an amazing lady, again, good with the media, good for the sport, really brings a positive vibe to track and field. So, yeah, for the field, I'd go for Tara, definitely.
Out of stadium?
Out of stadium again, the marathon, again, Paris Jepchirchir, winning the World Championships title in Tokyo, which seems to be a favorite hunting ground because she, I think, began a marathon career in Japan with the Osaka women's marathon, again won the Olympic title in Tokyo and winning the World Championship title in Tokyo again with that amazing finish. Beating Kipchoge. I mean, it was a great performance, but I'll pick her for outside the stadium events.
Yeah. And your overall athlete of the year among the women?
Again, I'm inclined to give it to Beatrice Jebet. It's very difficult doing the double 5 and 10 at a World Championship. Again, breaking the record in the 5,000 meters like she did in Eugene. She had very, very strong competition, especially in the 5,000 meters from her compatriot, Faith Kipchoge, whom she beat in the Paris Olympics last year. And again, this year, she was better than her at the World Championships. So for her consistency and her performances, like I mentioned earlier, also on the 3,000 meters. So 3,000 meters, 5,000 meters, and 10,000 meters, running very good times, and I'll give it to Beatrice.
Yeah. Now, on my side, I think the track was a little bit tough choice because between Beatrice Jebet and Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, who had a fantastic world champion, but I would choose Beatrice because not just the double in Tokyo, but the barrier breaking world record over 5,000. So I think it's Jebet. For field, I totally disagree. I would have, for me, it's Valerie Allman. I know that the discus is not as sexy as other events, but sorry, she was undefeated all year. fantastic NACAC record of 73 meters 52, although it was set in the very favorable conditions in Ramona. But, that was the longest throw since 1989. But she had 3 other competitions over 70 meters. So really fantastic season. And for out-of-stadium events, my vote would go to Spain's racewalker Maria Perez for repeating her fabulous 20K, 35K double from Budapest 23. And given that I had her as I had Beatrice for a track athlete over Melissa, well, then Jebet for the overall. Now, I haven't seen World Athletics nominations for Rising Star, but who are your rising stars, Elias?
Well, for the men, Anna and I have a Fanuel coach from Kenya. You remember we were together at the Paris Diamond League meeting in June, where he ran 3:27.72. That's a world junior or world under 20 record for the distance. And again, he went on to beat the likes of Jepchirchir at the London leg of the Diamond League. So, it's a brilliant young man coming up. It's a pity he didn't really do well at the World Championships, but I think it's still lack of experience. And, there's greater times ahead for Koech. He's really shown the determination. He's an outgoing athlete, and only just starting, I believe, is the next big thing for Kenya in middle distance running. And for the women,
no, absolutely. And 3 of the top 6 performances on 1500 belong to Fanuel. So I think he really was good. As you say, but there were a lot of top athletes who didn't make the final in the 1500 meter. Edmund was one of them, but also world leader Azzedine Habs. So it was a bit of a strange race. I think Edmund Serem deserves credit because among all the teenage standouts that people were really looking forward to, he's the one who delivered among the men. Among the women, it was the 2 Chinese throwers, but among the men, it's 17-year-old Serem, trying valiantly to keep Kenya's good name in the steeplechase. And really, and he's a lovely young man. I really appreciate him.
Yeah, young, brilliant young man. And again, with an interesting story. His brother, of course, Amos Ramos, running the steeplechase, and they were both coached by their father has been the inspiration, coaching them as young kids coming through. He won the Kip Keno Classic at home in Nairobi in the steeplechase, and at the trials for the Kenya team, he was brilliant. So yeah, like they're saying in Kenya, the future of the steeplechase is in safe hands with these young men.
Absolutely. And what about your female rising star?
It's been a bit of a difficult season, but I picked out Almayo Welteji from Ethiopia in the steeplechase. Again, the women's steeplechase is a very difficult competition, dominated this season, of course, by Jepchirchir, who's matured and who's really running well. So Almayo, I remember she won the gold medal last year, the World Under 20 Championships in Lima, Peru, and she managed a bronze for Ethiopia at the World Championships in Tokyo, which was a brilliant achievement, even the troubled championship that Ethiopia had. So she's a very good prospect for the future, both for the European team and also for the coaches. So yeah, I think Almaria.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, behind the top 2 athletes, Cherotic and Winfried Yavi, Simbu, very consistent and, making the bronze medal in Tokyo. I think I agree it clinches it in her favor. So let's look now at continental results, starting with Africa. So African Athlete of the Year saw a podium sweep for Kenya among the women, with Beatrice Jebet placing first, Faith Kipyegon second, and Faith Cherotich third. And this was honestly hardly surprising when we saw how Kenyan women dominated distance races in Tokyo, claiming all titles between 800 and the marathon. And among the men, the crown went to Botswana's Busang Colin Kebinachiphi. He was one of the top stars in Tokyo, surging to last gasp victories in both the 400 meters and the 4x400. So I think he deserves that. And Kenya's Emmanuel Wanyonyi was second, and then Tanzania's marathoner Alphonce Felix Simbu. Now, Elias, the African Athletics Athlete of the Year poll reflects Kenyan women's dominance in Tokyo. Now, tell me, did you honestly expect that amazing feat?
Yeah, I expected Kenyan women to do well, especially after what happened in Paris with the Olympics, with Beatrice and Faith dominating. It's been a very interesting scenario because if Emmanuel Wanyonyi did not win gold in the 800 meters in Tokyo, then it would have been the women bringing all the gold medals for Kenya. And at the moment, there's a very interesting debate in Kenya on what is happening to the men. How can they get back on track and follow the women's performances? Traditional races like the steeplechase, 5,000 meters, 10,000 meters for the men have been elusive. So the women have been doing well right from the beginning of the season in the cross country, on the roads with Agnes Ngetich, of course, and on the track. So we expected these great performances by the women athletes. And now having three very top athletes, Faith Cherotich, the steeplechase, 5,000, 10,000 meters with Beatrice Jebet, and of course Faith Kipyegon going for the sub-4-minute mile and successfully in Paris and dominating the 1,500 meters. So, it's a great season for the women.
Yeah. And let's hope the male athletes can raise their level, because they haven't been quite as good and it's been a few years now already. So Elias, among the men, Kebinachiphi, he was one of the brilliant surprises in Tokyo. And I must admit, I didn't expect him to win gold that soon. Had you thought the young Swana could triumph in this year's World Championships?
No, I was actually equally surprised. I didn't expect him to, steal that gold in the 400 meters. The first African since 2017 when Wade Manika won the title in London at the World Championship. So I think it was fantastic timing because he won the 100 meters individual gold and also part of the relay team that won gold. This coming just a year before Botswana was the World Relay Championship. I think it was godsend. It was a very good timing for Colin to win this particular gold. And remember, because of the performance was by Colin at the 4x4 100 meters relay team, a national holiday was declared by President Gideon Duma in Botswana just to celebrate these athletes. So it has really turned around track in Botswana, and the tribal in coming better. Right now, I know the organizers in Gaborone are grappling to come up with the ticket prices for the World Relays next May in Gaborone, because the following will be fantastic. I was in Gaborone for the Continental Tour meeting in Ethiopia, and the crowd is just in love with athletics. And now you get a 400 meters world champion. You have, of course, the relay team, the 4 brilliant guys will be competing in the world relays, and the king of them all, Letsile Tebogo. So it's a great year for Botswana athletics.
Yeah, I'm really going to try to go to Gaborone for the world relays, because I'm sure the atmosphere is going to be totally crazy. So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, there is a group in Kenya that is already making contributions to make a bus trip There's about 25 athletics journalists and followers who want to make it's close to just about 2,000 kilometers from Nairobi to Cameroon. So people are already planning to go there. It's going to be a fantastic 2 weeks of athletics because it's coming at the back of the Continental Tour meeting. Then you have the World Relays. So Anna, you should be in Cameroon in April, May.
I think I'll focus on the World Relays, but I really want to go there. And then afterwards have at least a week holiday in Botswana, which my parents and everyone who's been there, friends, they all tell me it's absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic country. Very nice meat, very nice food.
Yeah. Okay, so African rising stars, both 1,500-meter runners. Ethiopia's Birke Hailom, who has excelled for years already, and Kenya's Fanuel Kipchoge coach, the new wonder kid, though, as we saw, he paid for his inexperience in Tokyo. So let's move now to Europe. Men's European Athlete of the Year nominees, whittled from 5 to 3 after a first round, were Mondo Duplantis, Mattia Furlani, and Jimmy Gressier. And again, I think there's not a shadow of a doubt that Mondo was the best athlete of 2025 on the world stage and, of course, in Europe. Among the women, the 3 European finalists were the Netherlands 400-meter hurdler Femke Bol, Swiss high hurdler Ditaji Kambunji, and Spain's racewalker Maria Perez, with Bol chosen as the winner. Like Duplantis, it's her 3rd title. Now here, I must admit, I believe Maria Perez had a stronger case for the title, but these Athlete of the Year polls are always a little bit subjective. As for the rising star, Switzerland greatly improved 800-meter runner Audrey Huero took the crown over fellow shortlisted athletes, Norway's 400-meter specialist Henriette Jaeger, a silver medalist at the Euro Indoors and a European under-23 champion, and Great Britain's Ines Fitzgerald, who achieved a 3,000, 5,000-meter double at the European under-20 championships. Among the men, the winner was Polish decathlete Hubert Troszanka, who broke the world under-20 record this year at the under-20 championships European under-20s in Tampere. Other finalists were Bulgaria's long jumper Božidar Saraboyukov, who was victorious at the European Indoors in Apeldoorn, and Italy's high jumper and European under-23 champion Matteo Scioli. Now, Balkan Athletes of the Year 2025 were 2 pole vaulters. Slovenia's Tina Šutej, a world under-20 silver medalist back in 2006, finally took a senior outdoor global medal almost 20 years later in Tokyo, aged 36, claiming bronze behind the US duo of Katie Moon and Sandy Morris after earning world indoor silver last March. And Greece's Emanuel Karalis took a world championship silver behind Mondo Duplantis, capping an exceptional season where he jumped 12 times above 6 meters with a best of 6 meters 08. So I'd like now to highlight some cool athletics news and congratulate some of our top athletes who excel not only in competition, but also in their solidarity. An athlete who devoted much of his time to helping underprivileged children in his native Jamaica, since he was still an active athlete, is sprinter Johan Blake through his Why Be Afraid Foundation. On 20 October, the 2011 100-meter world champion was awarded the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander for his contribution to athletics and philanthropy at the National Honors and Awards Ceremony. Italy's 20-kilometer race walk Olympic champion and 35 kilometers world record holder Massimo Stano organized on 25 to 26 October a new edition of his Walking Stano initiative, raising 14,150 euros for cystic fibrosis research. The event, held in Palio del Colle, Bari, in his native Puglie region, included scientific round tables, all sports and education, but also music and entertainment, and a symbolic 5K race walk event led by Stano. Another Jamaican sprinter, recently retired double 100-meter Olympic champion and quintuple world champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, also founded her charity, the Pocket Rocket Foundation, years ago. After Hurricane Melissa struck the island on 28 October, the foundation promptly launched relief efforts, with Fraser-Pryce leading them on the ground to assess the needs of its student athletes, their families, schools, and the wider community. So congratulations to Johan, Massimo, Shelly-Ann, and the numerous other athletes who choose to give back to their communities. Now some sad news, unfortunately, as several protagonists of the world of athletics have left us. So starting with Hezekiah Munyoro Nyamao, 400-meter runner who passed away on 7 October, aged 87. In 1968, he was a member of the silver medalist 4x400 relay in Mexico City. And 4 years later, the Kenyan mile relay had won gold in Munich. Jamel Si Mohammed of Algeria passed away on 13 October, aged 85. He was a multiple national champion at 800 and 15,000 and a 1965 Africa Games finalist. He then became technical director and president of the Algerian Athletics Federation. He was also a member of the World Athletics and African Athletics Confederation Council. He was chairman of the World Athletics School and Youth Commission and a technical delegate at numerous Olympic Games, World Championships, and African Championships. And he was also always a very, very helpful gentleman every time that we worked together on these events. Next, on 30 October, Finnish pole vaulter Pentti Kusta-Nikula passed away on 30th October, aged 86. In 1962, he had set the world record with 4 meters 94. He also set 4 European records. He had won the European Championships that year. In 1963, he was the first athlete to clear 5 meters, 5 meter 10 indoors, but the mark was not ratified due to technical and admin reasons. And in 1947, he was 7th at the Olympic Games in Tokyo. On 1st November, U.S. legendary coach Clyde Hart passed away aged 91. He had coached 400-meter greats Michael Johnson, Jeremy Warner, and Sanya Richards-Ross. He was named International Coach of the Year in 2009 by the IAAF, now World Athletics. So the next person was not a positive influence on athletics. Victor Conte passed away on 3 November, aged 75. He was the founder and president of the infamous Bay Area Laboratory Cooperative, BALCO, a sports nutrition center offering undetectable performance-enhancing drugs to elite sports athletes. In July 2005, He entered a guilty pleas for conspiracy to distribute steroids and for laundering a portion of a check, serving 4 months in prison and 4 under house arrest. And Conte had implicated top athletes, including quintuple Olympic gold medalist Marion Jones. So let's look now at top events of the next month as we reach the end of our show. On this weekend, on 8 November, Cardiff Cross Challenge World Cross Country Tour Gold, and also the South American Cross Championships in Facatativá in Colombia. On the Sunday, Cross Internacional de Itálica in Sevilla, Spain, Cross Country Tour Gold. On 15 November, the Cross Pforzheim in Germany, that's a Cross Tour Silver event. On the following Sunday, 16 November, in Soria, Campo a Través Internacional de Sori, that's back to a gold event. 23 November, Cinque Mulini in San Vittorio Olona, also a cross-country tour gold event, as is the Cross Internacional de Atapuerca in Spain, taking place on the same day, and the Cross International Le Maine Libre Allonne Sarthe in Allonne, France. 23 November is also the date for the Great Ethiopian Run 10K in Addis Abeba. 30 November, the cross in Alcobendas, Comunidad de Madrid, country tour gold. 15 November, Van der Cross in Tilburg in the Netherlands, that's a cross tour silver. 30 November is the Shanghai Marathon, World Athletics Platinum event. 6 December, the Kenyan leg of the World Cross Country Tour, the gold meeting in the Chepsaita Cross Country Tour in Eldoret. 7 December, the Valencia Marathon. And 14 December, the SPAR European Cross Country Championships in Lagoa in Portugal. So we're now at the end of our program. It was great having Elias Makori with us on the show.
Thanks, Armand, for having me. And like you just said, it's very competitive cross-country season coming up. Leading up to the World Championships in Florida, USA. And I'm also to mention the Great Ethiopian Run on 23 November, which will be celebrating the Simba Jubilee, the 25th anniversary. The organizer, Haile Selassie, has invited his track rivals at the time, Paul Telgat and Moses Tanui, as among the chief guests, alongside Perez Jepchirchir. Those will be the main guests. So it's a very good partnership between Ethiopia and Kenya to promote running, and this 10K has been brilliant. I walked the course last year just in the 1 hour, so I'm looking forward to it again.
Yeah, fantastic. It really is a great event. And as you said, it's funny, the World Cross is taking place much earlier next year. It's in January. So everything is compact in a shorter period of time for the World Cross Tour.
Yeah.
So
January,
thank you.
Very early the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very early.
For example, Anna, the Kenyan athletes will not have a Christmas break. They will not have their Christmas because they are ready. The team has been selected. They go into camp, and during the Christmas season will be the peak of the training because of the early date of the cross country.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Thank you, Elias. Thank you all for watching, and see you in 2 weeks on Love Athletics to look together at the highlights, comments, and analysis of what's been happening in our sport over the past fortnight. Then on 30 November, World Athletics will announce the Athletes of the Year, and we'll be there to bring you interviews from the stars of our sport. So in the meantime, enjoy the cross season, and see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.